Alright, so today we're going to be looking at more application of percent by looking at computing simple interest. Now if you don't know what interest is when you borrow money from the bank and they charge you a fee for the use of their money. When you deposit money into the bank, into a savings account, you are also paid interest, so the bank pays you for being able to lend out your money. Simple interest is one type of fee paid for the use of money. There is a basic equation that we use when we're looking at simple interest. We have the amount of interest earned is equal to the principal, which is the amount of money borrowed or invested. Rate of interest is the percentage charged or earned. And then time is that the money is borrowed or invested in years. Okay. So it's super important that you get this equation down. Let's look at how we actually use that equation. To buy a car, Jessica borrowed $15,000 for 3 years at an annual simple interest rate of 9%. How much interest will she pay if she pays the entire loan off at the end of the third year? And what will be the total amount that she will repay? So remember, our interest is equal to our principal times our rate times the time. So here we fill in what we know. They're asking how much interest, we don't know I. The principal is the amount borrowed, so it's going to be $15,000 times her rate, which is 9%, times the time, which would be 3 years. When we multiply those three numbers, so the 15,000 times the 9% times the 3 years, we find out that the interest she's paying will be $4,050. So if she waited and then waited and then paid the total amount at the end, we're going to take that interest and add it on top of the $15,000 that she originally borrowed for a total that she'll end up paying for her car, $19,050. So why don't you try this one on your own? So here, if Elaine is borrowing $2,000 for 3 years at a simple interest rate of 5%, we're going to multiply all those numbers. So 2,000 times 5% times 3. She's going to pay $300 in interest. And if she waits until the end of her third year, she will pay $2,300. Sometimes it's not the amount of interest that's earned that we're figuring out, sometimes it's something else. So for example here, Nancy invested $6,000 at a 3% interest rate. She earned $450 in interest. We want to know how long she invested her money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify what I can on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to take my 6,000 and multiply it by the 3%, which gives me that 450, is equal to 180 times t. So since it's 180 times t, I'm going to divide by 180. And I get 2.5 is equal to t, so it would be 2.5 years. And let's just look at one more example. Mr. Johnson borrowed $8,000 for 4 years to make home improvements. If he repaid a total of $10,320, at what interest rate did he borrow the money? So here he repaid a total of this. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how much he paid in interest. So I'm going to take the $10,320 and I'm going to subtract the $8,000 that he borrowed. And when we do that, we get $2,320. So $2,320 is the interest he paid on his principal amount, which is $8,000, times the 4 years for the time, and we don't know the rate, so I'm going to leave that R. So I'm going to take 8,000 times 4, which is 32,000, and that has to equal my 23,200, so I'm going to divide by 32,000. So I'm going to take my 2,320 divided by 32,000. I get 0.0725 is my rate. If we change that to a percentage, I'm going to move it over 2 spots. So the percentage rate was 7.25%.